Hey, everybody. I'm really excited about our topic for today. And this is a topic that I get asked about so much. And it's this idea of like, how do I stand out? Like, how do I get noticed? There's so much competition out there. And if you are so focused on all of that, it can feel really paralyzing. There's so many good singers out there. How do I break through all of the noise, especially now that everything is online? And, it's been that way. Music business has been that way for some time where, social media and YouTube and streaming services are all an important part of the mix. And, anyone can put content out, even if you're not somebody who's who's a recording artist, but even if you're, let's say, an opera singer or a Broadway singer, your footprint, out in the world makes a difference. And it can feel like, God, when everybody can put stuff out there, how will I stand out from the noise? How will I stand out in this crowded market from the competition? And I know it can feel intimidating. It can feel even kind of hopeless at times to think how you will ever do that, how you will ever get noticed amid all of the other talent out there. But over the years, I have noticed a few things that I think, in my experience of what I've seen in my own career and in those of the singers that I work with and coach, I've noticed some things that I believe seem to make all the difference in the world as to who breaks through and who doesn't. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. And I think it's important. So the first thing that I want to bring forth that I think can really help stand out, amid competition is to have a perspective and to speak your mind. So what do I mean by that? What do you stand for? What do you care about? Do those things vibrate through you when you perform authentically? And even if you're not, let's say, a recording artist or a songwriter who is actually writing, about what you stand for and what you care about, think about what you actually do value and what you do authentically care about, causes that mean something to you, things that inspire you, that you want to cultivate in the world. You can make yourself stand out by being an advocate for any number of worthy causes. But ultimately, it's not going to matter if you don't believe in what you're doing. So if you're just doing it to stand out, then it's not going to land because it's not authentic. So pause for a second and think about, like, what do I care about? What matters to me? What am I willing to go to bat for? What are my values? What are the things that I stand for? What do I believe in? What matters to me? What do I fight for? Who do I fight for? These are all questions that can help guide you in that. And when you connect to these things, then let it inspire everything that you do. It will separate you from the crowd because you will actually stand for something, not just yourself, not just hire me, listen to me, buy my music. When you think about that, most artists are all about me. My record, buy my record, come to my show, it's soul sucking and it doesn't feel good. And audiences can smell that desperation and that feeling like you're just in it to get something. They're not going to buy into it. They're not going to want to come to your shows. Most artists, it's just all about me, right? But when you stand for something and it's no longer about buy my record, come to my concert, like my post, forward my post or whatever, people can smell that a mile away and it don't smell good. When you stand for something else that you care about, that inspires you, that matters to you, then it's about serving a larger mission. It's about who you can reach. It's about who needs you. And, a great example that I always think of when I think of this is Lady Gaga. Now, say what you want about her music. Maybe you like her music, maybe you don't, okay? But she has a very specific mission. She has a very specific thing that she stands for. She always has from the very beginning, and she continues to. And it's this mission about loving yourself for all your weird, you know? She spoke for the misfits. She spoke for the people that never felt they belonged, who didn't feel seen in her early music and still today. These are her diehard fans, and they will buy whatever she is putting out there. They will come to see her shows. They will go to see her movies because she validated them. She gave them a voice. She empowered them because it was important to her, and it was what she stood for and what she valued. Everything she has done in her art and in her public persona has been about this message of embracing your weird, self-love, self-acceptance. She walks the talk. You do not show up at the MTV Music Awards wearing a meat dress if this is not something that you value within yourself. She doesn't give a hoot what anybody else thinks. All she cares about is getting that message across because it's important to her. Because it was something that she experienced that made a huge impact on her when she was younger about how she felt she didn't belong. And so now this is imbued in everything that she does. She's not selling anything, you guys. She's serving a higher mission. And her fans feel that. And they would go to the ends of the earth for her because she's given something to them that they needed. Acceptance, empowerment, hope. And it's what made her stand out from the beginning. And so that brings me to the second thing that you can do, which is remember who needs you. Remember who needs you. At the end of the day, that is why we are all doing this as performers, to reach people, to bring them joy, to affect them, to connect them to some other joy or other inspiration that they don't get from their crappy day-to-day life, working in a factory all day long, or sitting behind a desk at a computer, like hating their life all day long. Remember who needs you. Who is that person? What are her fears? What are her wants? What are her frustrations? What are her disappointments? What are her deepest hopes? Like, get connected to this person who needs you. Create this person in your head. Even give her a name. Why not? Visualize her. Remember being that person yourself. And that song or that performance that meant the world to you. We all have songs like that changed everything when you heard it, or performances like that just changed everything for you when you saw it. That performance, that song, that experience that helped you through a really dark time in your life. You know, maybe it was that song that was going, you know, that you would play over and over again during that time in high school, maybe when you were feeling really unaccepted or totally alone after a bad breakup. I mean, oh my God, when I think about like the records that I used to listen to over and over again to help me get over heartbreak, to get over my divorce, my marriage, like all these things that I've gone through in my life, there are really specific songs that did that for me. Or maybe there's a loss. Maybe somebody in your life that you lost who passed away before their time, or people that you love that are no longer with us, and the music and the songs that got you through that. You know, or that song that like totally pumped you up when you had to go do something, like if you were an athlete, you know, and that song that you guys would play over and over again, you get pumped for like the big game or whatever it was that you were doing, right? We all have those songs, you guys. We all have those artists, those performances that have deeply affected us, that have shaped and molded and inspired who we are and how we walk through the world and how we see the world. So you have the opportunity to be that force in someone's life with your art, with your singing. Whether you're a recording artist, whether you're a performer, like an opera singer or a stage performer, I will never forget when I was in graduate school because I was in New York. And for my birthday, a family member gave me tickets to the Met. And I'd been to the opera before, I'd been to many, I'd been to the Met before, but I'd never seen Placido. I'd never seen Placido Domingo sing at the Met. And, everybody, oh, he's a legend, he's Placido, this is 25 years ago. Yes, I'm that old. And what was he singing? You know what? I don't even remember what the opera was. All I remember is he walked on stage and he stood there. The action was going on around him. The orchestra was going on around him. And then he opened his mouth and it was like the clouds parted. It was like there was nobody else on stage. It was like it was him in this like beam of light. It gets in my mind, in my memory, it gets totally, what's the word? Like exaggerated. But the way it felt was like this person on stage who was like in this totally other energetic plane with how he was able to connect and impact us with his voice. And you couldn't look away. And that's why I don't even remember what he was singing. But that performance, I have never forgotten. And there are times when I remember feeling like, I have to go sing this. Like when I was singing in San Francisco with the opera there. And I remember we used to have to do these outreach performances to go into schools and to, teach kids about what opera is. And, so at night we'd be doing like main stage big productions in San Francisco Opera House. And then we'd have to like go and do these performances. And I remember so clearly one time being so, like, I can't believe I have to go do this. Like I have to go sit and sing opera for a bunch of like snotty, 7th graders who don't care and don't even want to be listening to this. And I kid you not, right before I was about to walk onto a cafeteria stage, okay, like night before, War Memorial Opera House, now cafeteria stage, 7th graders. And that I remembered that image came to me of Placido on that stage. And remembering that inspiration in that moment and remembering, oh, right, now it's my turn. Now I get to do this and give somebody else that moment. And it doesn't matter that they're 7th graders. It doesn't matter. Maybe one of them needs to be transported right now. Maybe one of them has a horrible situation that they're going through, and watching me do this is going to bring them back to their self and their own passion and their own inspiration of whatever they love in their life. So you guys, like, you have the opportunity to be that force in somebody else's life with your art. And the artists who tend to really stand out in the crowd are the ones who are connected to that. They're connected to the idea that their performance is not about them. It's not about, the high note that I have to sing, or, the phrase that I am worried about, is it going to come out right? Or how, is this mean that they're going to sign up on my email list and then I'm going to get them to come to one of my other shows or buy my record, or, right? It's not about that. It is not, you guys, it's not about you. It's about the people who need you, who need that joy, who need that inspiration, who need whatever it is that you're, embodying, that's going to transport them and help them through and inspire them in their own lives. So before every performance, before every recording session, connect to that person, connect to her or him. That girl sitting there in her bedroom who really needs to hear your voice when you sing. That man in the audience who is so beat down in his own life, and that moment of joy that you can give him when you open your mouth and you transport him somewhere else. In every audition, for those of you who audition, in every audition, imagine that this person, she's sitting there on the other side of that table. Sing to her. It's not about you. It's about her. I come back to that Lady Gaga example here too. She knows who needs her. She's given them a name. You guys know this? She calls her I think it's her fan club at this point, but before it was even her fan club, just the people who, she wants to empower, she calls them little monsters. She's taken this thing, a monster, which is traditionally seen as this thing that's something to be scared of. It's something that's other, and she's co-opted it. And they call themselves little monsters, and they're proud of it, and they love it, and they inform everything that she does. And they have from the very beginning. So, this idea of it's not about you, it's about who needs you. It's about connecting to them, knowing who needs you, and also knowing what you stand for so that you don't have to let the market dictate what you're putting out there. And so that's the last point. The artists that I have noticed that tend to break through and, stand out from the competition, they do not let the market dictate what they're doing or what they're putting out there. And so what I mean by that is, don't just do something because you think that it's what the industry wants or it's what the market wants. Don't just do something because it's what's in right now. Oh, well, everybody's singing, this was brought to me recently. We were talking about the sound that Kristen Chenoweth has made really popular. And when I say the sound, I mean it's this very frontal Broadway sound, popular. It's that very kind of forward sound. And you've got an entire generation of singers who grew up with Wicked and You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown, who think that they need to sound like that in order to have multiple Tonys like her. And what's interesting is that the industry has kind of gotten on board with this, and they keep hiring people with this sound, okay? And then you become one of the crowd. You become one of the people who sounds like that, and you're not any different, and you're not going to stand out because you're doing what you think is the in sound. But guess what? So is everyone else. And then, somebody comes along like Lea Michele, who's just singing with her honest voice. And all of a sudden it got her way past Broadway. I mean, she was in a major Broadway show. She was in Spring Awakening in the mid 2000s. And that's what got her noticed. And that's what got her in Glee. And that's how she was able to break through the crowd, because she wasn't just sounding like everybody else. So we don't just want to do something because we think it's what the industry wants or the market wants, or because it's the in sound or it's what's popular right now, or, it's like what you think you need to do or sound like or look like or act like to be successful because that's what everybody else is doing. Do you. Everybody else is taken. Have you ever heard that? Do you, because everybody else is taken. Do what you do best. Do what inspires you, because anything else will come across as inauthentic. It will not land. I think about Amy Winehouse. Amy Winehouse came on the scene during a time when EDM and R&B, pop, hip hop, that was the thing. Rihanna, Beyonce, all these amazing singers in the pop space were of that either, more EDM or sort of urban pop ilk. And Amy Winehouse comes along and is like, I'm going to sing like old school soul in a pop context. And why did it work? Because it fit with her. It was who she was. She wasn't trying to do anything else or be what she thought the industry needed, because that was what was popular and that was what was on the charts right now. It was interesting and it was authentic. And her whole personality around it, even down to how she would dress and her hair and all this stuff. But don't do it because you think you need to be different. If you're doing something to be different, it's not authentic. So learn who you are. Learn what matters to you. Learn what inspires you. And do that. And do it to the best of your ability. Because anything else will come off as you are trying too hard. Be something that You're not. And to do that, we need to force and manipulate, and then we get into all kinds of stuff with the technique and the sound too, which is never a good place to be. And then it doesn't land. Don't try to be everything to everyone. Just be you. Know what inspires you. Know what's important to you, what matters to you. Know who you are artistically and vocally and aesthetically, and then be the most authentically and unapologetically you that you can be. That's what we're really talking about here. That is the number one thing that will make you stand out in a crowded market. And I know that sometimes it can feel really difficult to just be you, especially if you feel less than, if you feel like you got stuff going on in your head, why it's like, well, why should I just be me? I'm not interesting enough. I'm not whatever enough, you fill in the blank, right? It can be really difficult to just be you if you don't really know who that is yet, or if you believe that who you are is not enough. And if you follow my content, you've heard me talk many, many times about the major ramifications of feeling less than. It affects your body's ability to make a powerful sound. It seriously gets in the way of your ability to connect with your audience in a real visceral way that makes an impact. It's a huge reason that talented singers struggle with technique issues and also struggle to stand out and break through in their auditions and performances and recordings. And it's one of the biggest things that I address with the singers in my program. The singers who come through and do the intensive. This is something we spend a lot of time addressing, which is knowing who they are as people, as humans, as artists, what they value, what matters to them, old stories and beliefs that might be getting in the way of them really claiming and owning who they are and working through that BS. We work a lot on having these unshakable beliefs and trust in who they are, and knowing how to be vulnerable enough to be unapologetically the most them that they can be. And it is what sets them apart from all the other artists out there in their sphere and radically changes the trajectory of their singing and their career. So if this is making a lot of sense to you, if you want that guidance, if you want to get this transformation for yourself and for your singing and for your career, and you're feeling like, I don't know how to do that on my own. Some people might know how to do that on their own, and that's great for them. But for a lot of us, we need guidance. We need support. We need somebody to help us clear the mind trash, clear the technique trash, and really get to the root of why we are not standing out and what we can do to fix it. And so if this is making sense to you and you want that guidance, I always set aside time in my calendar to share how I work and to share the exact step-by-step strategy with you that I use with the singers in my program. And it's a free call. The idea is, to get some clarity and to understand where you are, why you're there, and how to get where you want to go. And so we'll talk about what's going on in your singing, and we'll talk about what's going on in your career. And if I think I can help you, I will let you know and show you what that looks like. And if it's not a fit, that's okay too. I will also point you in the direction of other people or other things that I think can help you. And so what we do on the call is we chat for 45 minutes, and I'm going to lay out the plan that's going to help you to understand how to make this shift from being overlooked to finally standing out, so that you can make an impact and stand out in your performances and recordings and auditions, and build a real fan base and an industry reputation from a place of authenticity. And it's easy to sustain that. Why a lot of artists and people burn out before they even get successful is because it's real hard to sustain something that's not you. And you're going to connect more, not just in performances then, but in your marketing and in your networking, so that you can get where you want to go. And I know that most of you are not performing or auditioning right now in the ways that you're used to, given COVID and the circumstances around us all that we've been living with. But wouldn't it be amazing to like work through all of this stuff and work on these fundamental things now, so that when this is all over and when we are all back performing again, you can launch your career and your singing from a much higher place to a much higher level of success. So just a gentle reminder about who this call is for. If you have not had much one-on-one technical training on your journey yet, this call is not for you yet, okay? Go get that first. This is a great opportunity to get moving on that. You know, a lot of times it's hard to feel authentic and tap into your vulnerability if all you're thinking about is, I'm flat, or my breath isn't working. Like, I don't know how to do that. So go get those tools first. If you have had a good deal of technical training and you are still not seeing the results of all that training and all of your hustle and putting yourself out there, and your performances and auditions are just not landing, and you feel like you should be at a whole nother level by now, and you feel like you are constantly overlooked and you are not breaking into the level that you want to be in your career, despite all the training and all the experience that you've had, then don't waste any more time. This call is for you. Schedule a call. We'll sort out what's not working. We're going to lay out this strategy that's going to make so much more of an impact on your career and your singing moving forward. Give yourself the opportunity to stand and take a stand for what you want and get the help you need. All right, guys, I hope you have a wonderful week, and I will see you back here next week. Bye. Hey guys, thanks for tuning into today's episode. If you want to subscribe, click the link right over there that says subscribe. And if you want to book a breakthrough session with me, which you absolutely should do, then click the link right over here that says book a call to schedule an appointment to speak with us. I'll see you on the next episode.